Well, it's been a day since the debates, and you're starting to see a lot of the feedback from it pop up and some polling and whatnot. And not that all the polling is completely accurate or anything like that, but I am just getting the vibe that those undecideds in the middle just are not really that convincingly swayed from what they saw in the debate. And even that aside, and even going into the debate, my gut has always been telling me that Trump is going to win. And I can't tell you with any sound logic and reason as to why. It's just a gut feeling at this point. Because everything, the trends, the momentum, the decisions, everything is arcing towards Kamala Harris pulling this off. But at the end of the day, I'm asking myself, like, is she really going to, though? Now, I step back and I look at things and I say, look at all the mistakes Donald Trump has made. Look at all the political career suicide choices he has made. And by the way, kids aren't here, so I might let a few curse words fly out. And I say, like, any time in the past, any of many actions that you want to point to that Trump has either carried out, said, did, whatever, would be just utter death for a politician. Like their careers would be over. They'd be kicked out of Washington and not welcomed back. But maybe, just maybe, the way Donald Trump is that X factor that people just can't understand why he still continues to get the support that he does. Because I sit back and I am one of the most critical people of politicians out there. And that's the thing. Donald Trump being called a politician is a disservice to what past politicians are. He is just he's a political anomaly, for lack of a better term. He's a political anomaly. He is someone where when you make that chart and you put all your pinpoints down and all the pinpoints of politicians are down here, he's the one that's up here. It's like, wow, why is there such a obvious outlier? But maybe that is what it is that people are just they're just done with politics as usual, politicians as usual. And even though, hey, Donald Trump is, he's playing the political MO, the modus operandi of just like, I'm going to put the judges in the Supreme Court that are much more to my side of the aisle. I'm going to support candidates and campaign for them that are much more for my side of the aisle. Like all that is status quo for what a politician would do. But here's the thing: when Donald Trump became president, he didn't act like a normal president. He didn't want to do the things like, hey, the Super Bowl team doesn't want to come here. Like, I use just a random example like that. The Super Bowl team doesn't want to come here and do the formal celebration at the White House, which has been done for pretty much every team before that. I don't know when exactly it started, so I don't want to say every single time. But in just like a number of other sports teams, when you win a major sports title in America, it is just considered protocol to do the whole ordeal at the White House. There was times in the past where someone said like, well, I'm not going to Barack Obama's thing. I'm a Republican, whatever. Fine. But there's like entire teams that were boycotting going, like the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't show up at the Super Bowl. They didn't show up at the White House Super Bowl super celebration after they won the Super Bowl. Trump don't care. Trump don't want them there anyway. Like it's little things like that. And the whole just speaking his mind and just not toning things down. Like I'm sure people said, "Oh, Donald, you gotta tone it down. Eat me." Like that's his attitude. Eat me. Go fist yourself. He is who he is. He's true to himself, and I guess that is just what people see in an inspiration in him. I don't know. I don't know what you want to describe it as, but there is just something about this guy that makes him. He's the real Teflon Don. Like, not that mafia guy that's locked up, or did he pass away? I think he passed away. Anyway, he is the real Teflon Don. Nothing sticks to this guy that will hurt him in the eyes of his beholders. Like, he is probably one of the most, I don't know if you want to say mocking, non supportive with his actions of what a true loving Christian should be. Yet the most diehard Christians love this guy. Like, he is a smite to the Bible. An absolute smite. Yet some of the most Bible thumping Jesus lovers support him. Again, he is just something different. And I guess that is just one thing that just can't be competed with. Now, going as to like why I think Kamala Harris still has a chance to actually lose this in the face of her. She's doing everything right. Like, I can't be too critical of what she's done so far. I don't personally like her as a candidate, but she's at least done everything right. She hasn't screwed up since Biden stumbled, fell over, tripped, and handed the baton to her. She's done everything right so far. I can't be critical of anything she's done since she has been the quote unquote candidate and then become the official candidate after the convention. But I sit there and I say, like, if election day comes and she loses, number one, I'll accept it. I'm not going to sit here and be like a pissed off maggot that got upset when Biden beat Trump. Like, oh, it was rigged. It was rigged. Just stop the ballot counting in Georgia. Have the officials vote on it. Forget the actual number of ballots. Just have the courts decide it in Georgia. I'm not going to be like that. You won't hear one word about, unless there's insurmountable evidence and proof of ballot box stuffing and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say never, but still, other than egregious, obvious misconduct in voting protocol, I'm not going to sit here and say the election was rigged if Kamala Harris loses. Because there is a piece of me inside that says she doesn't deserve to win. And how and why I say that as someone who is fully behind the Kamala Harris train and who is going to vote for her and is not going to change their mind on that, because, again, the whole Ukraine issue is the one main sticking point that I can't support Trump on, is I am just someone that has respect for the process. And I don't mean what the Philadelphia 76ers are doing. The process and making your bed and lying in it. The DNC went through almost the entire summer as Joe Biden as their candidate. They went through all the elections in all 50 states that picked Joe Biden as their candidate to represent them on the Democratic ticket for nomination of President of the United States. But all of a sudden, he has one moment, one evening, one debate, and the DNC is like, nope, erase the whole chalkboard. We're putting this girl out there instead. That is circumventing the process. Now, I know people that are going to say, like, that are going to defend this are going to be like, well, honestly, that's a process either side can use. It's in there for a reason because, some a candidate could get severely sick, debilitated, die, etc., or have a complete senile senior moment, and there should be the ability for the party to replace them. And the Republicans could replace Donald Trump if they wanted to as well before the convention. Fine, I get that. I understand that. But it's like I see this as like is like a cheat code, to use video game terms. Like, you're playing a game with Biden as your character, and all of a sudden it's like, oh God, I'm running out of energy and health. I'm not going to be able to beat the final boss. But let me put in the cheat code, and plus 10 charisma increase enhanced. Kamala Harris activated. Now you stand a chance of defeating the final boss. It's like the will of the people and the process that has been carried out since the, whatever. Maybe I know candidates have been changed before. Again, I'm not going to say every single time, but it's like, it's just, you made your bed. You made your bed with Biden, DNC. You kind of deserve to have him be the candidate. And bringing Kamala Harris in at the 13th hour, it's kind of a cheesy move, if I'm being honest. And again, I am someone who is voting for Kamala Harris. I can't stand it if Trump would win. But it is kind of cheesy how Kamala got there, because I sit there and I tell you the honest face, if she had to go up against other party members like a Pete Buttigieg, like I don't know, like I don't know where to draw the line of saying, because when she ran against these people before, she lost pretty early on in the race. Like when she was running for president herself, like, do I think she would have beat a Pete Buttigieg? Do I think she would have beat a Bernie Sanders? Do I think she would have beat anyone else that could have been on the ticket? Because who knows who would have been on the ticket for the DNC if Biden had stepped out before things got into gear. So it is kind of a cheesy move of how she got in there. And at the end of the day, if she does lose this election, I'll be like, well, there's always going to be a part of me that says she didn't deserve to win anyway. It was kind of I don't know if you want to use the word cheap. I'll stick with the word cheesy. It was kind of a cheesy way how she even got into the mix. So yeah, I mean, who knows? We might be seeing Trump versus Shapiro, Trump versus Buttigieg, because like I'm saying, like when I see a Pete Buttigieg or a Josh Shapiro speak, and I'm like, if she was in a debate against those two guys, I don't see how she comes out as the winner in the eyes of the public. So yeah, respecting the process and making your bed and lying in it. Like the Democrats made their bed in the summer. They elected Joe Biden through their democratic process, and then said, "Oh gosh, he is old as dirt." I don't know why it took us to the debate with Trump to figure this out, but it did. But again, it also goes into that conspiracy that I mentioned before, that this was the plan all along, that we're going to have Joe Biden go out there and even maybe possibly tell him, look, we know you're senile and old and you can barely move as it is, but be extra senile during that debate. Be extra dumbfounded. When you're sitting there and it's not your turn, just have your mouth open and go, do that, Joe. Maybe he was coached into doing that, and that the whole plan was, because get this, it's going to be such a better choice for Kamala because she's 20 plus years your junior, and it's going to then make Donald Trump seem like the old man. Either way, it's cheesy how Kamala got into this, but she's on the side of the ticket that is supporting an issue that I just can't vote against, and that's that war in Ukraine right now. I'd even have a chance more of voting for Donald Trump if he was just even slightly critical of anything Vladimir Putin and the Russians have done over the past 3 years. I can't. Again, it hits home more for me because I am of Russian descent. My grandmother escaped the Soviet Union with her parents, and it just hits home a lot more for me. Not to bring my whole sob story into this situation. Well, actually, what am I saying? Sob story. It's a great story for my grandmother. She got out of Russia and never looked back for a single day in her life. Anyway, so part of me is just expecting Kamala to lose, but the other part of me is just willing to fully accept, because honestly, does she really truly fully deserve to be there? And to the people that I want to talk to out there that are voting for Kamala Harris, do you really have full respect for how she got on the ticket, is I guess what I want to say. Anyway, I don't know, because like, just like the part of me was expecting out of that debate for just the polling to just oh my God, just rocket blast off to Kamala. But part of me was saying, like, what minds are really going to be changed? And sure enough, not many were. That's what it seems like now. It seems like not many minds were changed from that debate, and that is kind of alarming. But again, people like Trump, I guess, because because if I can give Trump any credit, he's a firm individual. He looks like a guy that would be scary to piss off. Like, I wouldn't exactly want to be Al Qaeda planning the next 9/11 on Trump's watch. Like, I feel comforted if he was in office, that I would feel like I feel less likely that America would get attacked in any way, shape, or form. I can give him that much credit. And people like a firm individual, people like a strong individual, people like a guy that just speaks his mind. Like, as irreprehensible as him saying, like, when I see a hot girl at the party, what I want to do? I'm going to grab her in the pussy. Or a guy that says, like, I could shoot someone dead in the streets of New York City and still win the election. He speaks his mind. And people respect that. There is a layer of respect that I can understand with someone who speaks their mind, who's firm. Anyways, I'm more interested to hear from the people that are supporting Kamala Harris and going to vote for Kamala Harris in this video, in the comments of this video. So, anyways, I'll be voting for Harris at this point, no matter what, unless Trump gets a lobotomy and automatic and starts like throwing Putin under the bus and starts saying, like, I'm gonna give Zelensky the long-range ballistic missiles and stuff like that. Like, I'll be like, okay, now you got my attention. But he's not, and he wants to ban abortion nationwide. Again, I got into that in yesterday's video. Anyway, what say you, Kamala Harris supporters? The comments are open to you now. That is all.